Hello, my name is Kiriath, and today we're going to have a little chat about my great hope for some of the plastic replacements for the Horus Heresy. So Age of Darkness is nearly upon us. It's nearly here. We can pre-order it next weekend, which means there will soon be a shed load of people with a big box of lots of marine-based plastic. And with it, of course, come the plastic Contemptor and the plastic Spartan. And there's a load of stuff that I would love to see them move into plastic from Forge World. The Fire Raptor, the Storm Eagle, Scimitar jet bikes, for instance. There's a whole lot of stuff that I would love to be more accessible, cheaper, easier for people to put together, just less daunting for hobbyists as a whole. But before whole other kits get ported over into plastic, I am kind of hopeful that Games Workshop take advantage of three specific things that they've done with the moving of the Deimos Rhino, the Spartan, and the Sicarin battle tank. So in the case of the Deimos pattern Rhino going into plastic, it does give me just the tiniest bit of hope that maybe the Deimos pattern Predators might just come down in price a tiny amount. I'll take a tiny amount, because currently, 66 quid for a Predator. Well, Predator and Furnace is 66, but the Executioner is 69.50, so it's just the standard Predator. That's quite a bit, but then again, that is partially because to create that Deimos pattern Predator, you are taking a current Rhino and replacing like a good solid half of it. So the sides are resin, the top is resin, the panel at the front is also resin. There is still quite a bit of plastic in there, but with every part of the Deimos part of the Rhino being plastic, that could potentially allow them to make them just a little bit cheaper. I'm not holding my breath on that, if I'm totally honest, because it feels like with there already being plastic components, they kind of have an excuse, flimsy as it might be, to basically not touch these, go on the basis of, well, this is already a conversion kit for that. Although it would be cheaper for them to make, I assume, than to keep casting the resin parts for the Deimos side of things, since that will now be plastic as well. It's a bit of a vague hope, but it's a bit of a hope nonetheless, because I do love the Deimos pattern Predators, but they are hefty. They are hefty in investment for what you're getting, especially since the base of it is already plastic. The thing is now, more of the base of it will be plastic. I mean, if you look at the front of, say, the Command Rhino, out of all of the stuff on there, you've got one side panel on each side, so two side panels are plastic, you've got plastic bottom, plastic top, everything else is resin. Considering that the plastic Deimos, of course, all of that is just plastic, so all you're looking at for that vehicle particularly is just the radar dish on the back. You would think that maybe that would be a good excuse to make those a bit more approachable cost-wise. That, admittedly, is a bit of a long shot. It's a bit of a pipe dream. It's most likely not going to happen, but something that I'm hoping is a bit more realistic in terms of what to hope for is the Sicarin variants. So the Sicarin is going to be completely plastic, but there are 4 other variants of it. You've got the Omega Tank Destroyer, the Punisher Assault Tank, the Arca Strike Tank, and the Venator. Out of these 4, 3 of them are super easy. All of these are currently resin, right? They all are resin top to bottom, just like the Sicarin was. But with Sicarin being plastic, all these need to do is be an upgrade in the form of a turret. Just a single turret. If you look at the Sponson weapons, they are exactly the same. If you look at the hull-mounted heavy bolter, it's exactly the same. The only thing that is different about these is what goes on top. Now, given that these are currently fully resin models, if they're changing that to plastic, that should bring the cost of these way down. I don't really see any reason as to why they wouldn't simply sell the turret as an add-on. Why they wouldn't just make it so that you buy the tank, and then if you want to kit it out as a Punisher, then you just buy the Punisher turret for it. Unless they've packed all of those options into the box, which seems kind of unlikely, to be honest, since you can still buy these on Forge World, and the standard Sicarin is just gone. I would really love that to be the case, because I don't see any reason as to why you would not be able to do it. Because there's no difference. For 3 of these variants, there is absolutely no difference between what they come equipped with or how they look, the overall build of them. They are identical to what is going to be released in plastic, except for a different turret. And if you're going to sell just the turret, surely you can knock a good chunk of money off that list price, right? Now, the one I'm not sure about is the Venator. The Venator feels like it might be a bit more complicated than that, or at least would remain quite expensive, because you are totally missing out the turret on this. The turret is gone. Instead, of course, the main weapon is hull mounted. The hull mounted heavy bolter has been moved up to the top so that so that you still have that bit of equipment on the tank. Like, this is a fairly significant departure that could make it more tricky to integrate it with a plastic kit, possibly. This is the one I wouldn't be surprised if it just stays how it is, but I just don't feel like there's any particular reason outside of, well, I don't know, wanting to be less efficient as to why you wouldn't make the others just a single turret addition to the plastic kit. Maybe not even bundle them together, but just have them as extras that you buy separately. Now, for the Spartan, there's 2 additional builds for that chassis, which is the Cerberus and the Typhon. The Cerberus is a big anti-tank super heavy tank, which has just got 2 massive guns sticking out the front of it. But once again, the sides of this thing are the same as the Spartan. They don't have any real differences in terms of, by the look of it, the bottom it would be the same, the sides and the tracks would be identical, the back of the tank is exactly the same. There's not really much here that is like desperately needs to be totally different. And so I'm kind of hoping that, again, we have a similar situation where, as with the Sicarin, you could well end up with the plastic chassis for these things, but then a resin add-on, which would hopefully bring the price down a little bit. I mean, as you can see, as it stands, this thing is £127.50. The Spartan is not going to be anywhere near that cost. It's not going to be that expensive. It's going to be a lot cheaper than that. And most of the tank is the same. Most of it is pretty much identical. You've just got a big gun on the front instead of the assault ramp. And I don't know, I just feel like there's a lot of opportunity between the Sicaran and the Spartan, especially, to really open up how easy it is to both acquire these other tanks, but also how easy they are to build. I mean, I've assembled the Typhon, I've assembled a Cerberus now as well, actually, and it's fine, it's okay. But you know what? It's not as easy as plastic. Like, it just isn't. Resin is not as easy a material to work with as plastic, especially when it comes to these big, like, chunky vehicles, where, I mean, the entire side of the Typhon is just one chunk. So where you can see the tracks, the armour, all of that, that is all one massive piece. If that gets warped, it's not fun trying to straighten it out, and I know that because that's what I had to do with mine. It being plastic with just a resin gun on the front, I'll take that any day over it being 127 quid and more difficult to work with. Now, the thing is, this is all just vague hopes and dreams, right? They might not do anything like that. They might just decide, you know what? It doesn't matter. We might have a plastic Sicarin, we might have a plastic Deimos Rhino, we might have a plastic Spartan, but we're just not going to adapt them to be able to take any of the resin stuff. We're just not going to bother, because if you really want those things, you're going to pay the price. But, I feel like it would make them so much easier to get hold of. It would be more likely that people would look at them and get them. When it comes to new players, when it comes to people picking up the Horus Heresy and diving into it off the back of this box, expanding the range of options available through those kits that they are already used to feels like it'd be way more sensible than going, okay, you're used to putting the plastic Spartan together, you're used to putting the plastic Sicaran together, now go and buy the resin version, which is different. I don't know why you would do that if you have the option to do anything else, and with these kits now being available in plastic, it feels like they now have the option to do anything else. So whether they go for that, I don't know. It remains to be seen, but I would like to see these platforms become more varied, even if it's a case of just doing resin add-ons for plastic kits. But what do you reckon are the chances of that? What do you reckon are the chances of them actually taking advantage of that? Think it's going to happen? Don't think it's going to happen? Think it makes sense, but they're not going to be sensible? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. In the meantime, feel free to click all the things, Patreon, video, subscribe, all that stuff. Click it if you like, don't click if you don't want to, and as always, there's an affiliate link in the description for Anime Games, which you can use to support the channel if you like. I leave it in your capable hands. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.